A larger and larger portion of our entertainment industry in the West is focused on the superhero genre. Marvel and DC movies have gone from a more nerdy niche to dominating mainstream entertainment in the past few years. And with this genre being ever more prolific, naturally as a response more content that subverts the genre tropes and cliches released. The latest of these is Amazon's... I loved Invincible's main story. Omni-man is a fascinating character. He is really what made this show so amazing. And even though the father-son villain-hero dynamic is not something entirely original, here it works surprisingly well. There is also the sense of mystery as we struggle to understand Omni-man's actions. Why did he kill off the entire Justice League knockoff? Why is he often so cold and uncaring towards his family? And of course the incredibly memorable final fight where all of this is revealed, where Omni-man's love for his son is challenged by his sense of duty, ultimately the former prevailing. The main protagonist, Invincible, gets that name challenged constantly throughout the show. He is admittedly a terrible superhero in the sense that his path is marked by constant failure to save people or oppose villains. He often needs someone else to save him, and I like how despite of the incredible power he possesses, he is still portrayed as incredibly powerless, childish, and prone to mistakes. This is a damn good origin story. Although the quality of the animation isn't too consistent, as sometimes it drops and looks like a YouTube's cliché, for the fight scenes it was always top notch. The show is, of course, not perfect. Fair warning, this review is for Invincible's first season of the show. I skimmed through the graphic novel and it seems most of my gripes do not apply for it. Where the show falls weak for me is the B-plots. They are largely forgettable and quite weak compared to the main story. Case in point, the teen team. Towards the end there is this subplot of Robot helping two villains escape from prison so he can ask them to clone a new body for him. He committed a lot of very questionable acts and made me doubt him in his capacity as a hero. That is he willing to cause harm to others for his own personal benefit, which is not a characteristic of the superhero. But this story didn't have an interesting payout. It was all done so he could impress some girl he liked. Admittedly, this show is primarily targeted at teenagers, so I guess the mentality of always permitted in love and war is the framework we're working in here. But, you know, we have the Geneva Convention precisely so not everything is allowed in war. And I don't think that stealing someone's DNA and aiding the escape of two villains, which resulted in the death of a few people, should be forgiven and forgotten so easily. Perhaps it is with my ever-increasing age that some of these notions have become too alien for me. Another important plot point that fell flat was the Black Samson regaining his powers. It was emphasized several times that he was a member of the Guardians of the Globe until he lost his powers.
Thanks, Dad. Maybe if you didn't lose your powers, you might have been there to help the Guardians on their last day.
And even as an ordinary man, he managed to be a pretty damn good hero, making it to the new Guardians of the Globe team. So you would expect his newly found powers to be of importance in the final fight, but no. I don't even know what his powers are by the end of the show. The whole team and he were just thrown at the end for a few frames as they cleaned up the mess after the Omni-Man vs Invincible's fight. The teen team as a whole feels really undeveloped to me. Nothing throughout the first season made me believe they were deserving of inheriting the mantle of the Guardians of the Globe. And that is fine. Leaving room for your characters to grow and putting a goal for them is a perfectly good way to end your story. However, the show really tries to force the idea that they have proven themselves with their cleanup duty, which simply is not the case, thus it felt a bit tone-deaf.
Now we look like a team.
Another subplot that was quite weak was Mark's cliché struggle to manage both his superhero and his normal life. For all of its goofiness, the original Spider-Man trilogy showed this struggle a lot better. We saw Peter Parker slowly get out of touch with his normal life. He struggles with his studies, he gets fired from his work, and even becomes distant from his friends and family. This also affected his superhero life as he started struggling with impotence, ultimately culminating in him giving up on being Superman. In Invincible, the show failed to properly convey the struggle. There was only one short moment when the principal briefly scolded Mark for constantly being late, or there was some offhand remark that Mark doesn't know basic geography, but that felt more like he was just an idiot. There was this one scene where Mark quit his job, but instead of me thinking, oh, he finally made the decision of the superhero life above his normal life, I thought, wait, he had a job? The graphic novel seemed to contain more time dedicated to his struggle of identity. And it is a rather important one since at the end of the story Mark prefers his normal life over the superhero one, or at least for a while. The only thing that was kept was his relationship with Amber, which again felt rather stale, and their reunion at the end fell flat for me. I understand Eve's and Amber's purpose in the story beyond the love interest, to be Mark's connection to the superhero and to humanity. However, he already has those in the face of his father and his mother. And with his personal life being largely cut out from the runtime, their purpose as his normal teenage relationships is also left out. But, as I said, for the most part the B-plots are largely forgettable. If you watch the show, you will be so enticed by the main story, that of Omni-Man and Invincible, that you won't remember the less important characters. I think you should definitely give this show a shot, especially if you like the superhero genre. Don't dismiss it simply because it is animated, as some people mistakenly have done. Overall, I would rate Invincible 8 out of 10. Definitely check it out, and if you're not so fortunate to have an Amazon subscription, there are other ways of watching the show, ways some might consider to be unnatural.